And somebody today from the YSL RICO trial has taken a plea. Welcome to the viral news source. We have all the hottest news all of the time. And let's check it out. This is happening live, so let's go.
All right, I apologize for the interruption. Thanks for y'all's patience. Some of the co-defendants in the ongoing trial wanted to be out here, so they are out here now. And Mr. Harvey, are we ready with Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
You want him at the podium?
And I believe Mr. Nichols is the one that YSL Slime Life Shouty referred to as having his dreads in the air.
You want him here at seated?
I think at the podium, please. Thank you.
And this must be a sinking feeling for Thug, young Thug right there, because I mean, to me, this looks like people are starting to abandon ship. They already have before, but now at this critical moment, when they were hoping for a mistrial, we have another guy who is taking a deal. And I wonder what's running through Thug's mind. Is he going to try to fight this to the end? Or I don't know how this is going to go, but I think he looks a little concerned, but let's check it out. He's dressed a little spicy today. Nice fit, Thugger.
I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay. And that young man that is sitting down right there, this guy, he's the one that has his dreads in the air, who is taking a plea.
Have him at the podium because he's going to have to take an active part in
See that? The dreads
This-
are in the air.
entry. All right.
Okay, sure.
Sergeant, can you swear him in, please?
Raise your right hand. Swear firm testimony you give today the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
All right. State, spell your first and last name for the court. Slide into the mic, please, sir.
Quay Marvius Nichols. QUAMARVIOUS. Last name Nichols. NICHOLLS.
And Mr. Nichols, are you the same person referred to as Quamarvius Nichols on indictment 22 SC 183572?
Yes.
And are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No.
Have you had the opportunity to sign this indictment with your attorney, Mr. Bruce Harvey?
Yes.
How old are you?
29.
And how far did you go in school?
I got my GED.
I did not hear you.
I got my GED.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
Do you understand that in this indictment,
You know, so I'm curious, and I see this and lots of different trials, like when they're about to sentence the people, they always ask them, how far did you go in school? And I guess that is to determine if they have some level of understanding and competence in what they are about to accept as this plea. Yeah, I think this guy probably said, I gotta tap out. Let me just take what I could get, because it could get worse. Or maybe he's making a mistake, but I don't know. Let's see. And the reason why I say he could be making a mistake is because what if there's a sweeter deal up ahead of the road, like in the Thugger territory? But let's see.
you were initially charged with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, which carries a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were also charged with count 49 in this indictment, which is murder, which carries a sentence of life. You were charged with 2 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, which was counts 50 and 51, which each carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were initially charged with counts 53 and 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon under Code Section 16-11-133, which each carry a sentence of 15 years consecutive to count 1.
I gotta tell you guys, this is where keeping it real in the streets goes wrong. Now, did you hear what the lady said? The 1 count of murder, if he did not take this plea deal, was life in prison. And then she read off all the other charges, and and she's still reading them off, I think, and I interrupted her. But street life is no life, man. You young guys and girls, or whoever's listening to this, just do good all of the time. And you won't ever have to worry about being in front of a judge taking a plea like this. Let's continue.
And then you were also charged with count 54, which is possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, which carries a sentence of 5 years consecutive to count 1. Do you understand that that's what you were initially charged with?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to go over and review the waiver of rights form with your attorney?
Yes.
And I'm going to hand this to your attorney. Did you sign this along with your attorney?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Bruce Harvey, about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charge in this indictment?
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss this matter with your attorney?
No.
Are you satisfied with his counsel and representation?
Yes.
And I'd include in there the counsel and representation by Ms. Westmoreland and Mr. Garland as well. You had a team of attorneys.
That's correct.
All right.
And they are all attorneys of record and have participated in this particular proceeding and negotiations leading up to this proceeding.
Thank you.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you waive any and all defects with respect to the indictment?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, have you been arrested on all the charges in this indictment?
Yes.
And Mr. Harvey, the state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you know of any outstanding warrants that are related to these charges?
Not related to those charges.
Have you been advised of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge that you are pleading?
His attorney told him it's now or never. We don't know what's up ahead. Like I said, it could go Thug's way. Thug might be left fighting by himself. That's how it's kind of looking. And then if he fights by himself all the way to the end and he loses, it is hammer time for him. So this guy, his attorney, Mr. Dreads in the Air's attorney, said, we better take this deal while it's hot. Yeah, it's a maximum number of years is 20. You can get 7. You get credit for the time served. I think he's probably been locked up at least 1.5 years, 2 years, maybe long. Let's say he's been locked up 3 years. That's 4. Chopped it down. He may get out on good behavior. Who knows? The attorney said, take this deal and run. And you know what? I agree. Because we don't know what's up ahead if this thing can really, really go left. But we do know that this judge is getting tired of the way that this trial is going. So let's continue.
Pleading to?
Yes.
Do you understand this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend to the court as to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, a sentence of 20 years to serve 7 years in custody, balanced on probation.
Yes.
Do you understand that as a part of the negotiated agreement, the state will null, pros, or dismiss count 49, which is the murder count, count 50, 51, which are the gang activity counts, count 53, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, count 54, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and count 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Do you understand that is the negotiated agreement?
Yes.
Do you understand that the court does not have to accept that recommendation?
Yes.
And the court can sentence you to the maximum on each charge and can run those charges consecutively or one after the other?
Yes.
Well, there's only one charge that
so I-
a guilty plea is
I
being
was-
entered into, so
Under my breath to that.
there's no other sentence to run anything consecutively with regard to this plea. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
Do you understand if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of your sentence?
Yes.
Do you understand you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes.
Do you understand that neither the court, your attorney, nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole, the Department of Corrections, or Board of Pardons and Paroles, and no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you?
Yes.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use,
Let's keep it real. He probably doesn't understand all of that. But he doesn't need to. His attorney does. And you know what? His attorney is like, look, man, just say yes, get this over with, and go do your time. Let us continue.
receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison.
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify or to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights? After each right, I'll ask you to say yes or no if you understand. The right to a trial by jury,
Yes.
the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself,
Yes.
the right to confront witnesses against you,
Yes.
the right to assist of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case,
Yes.
the right to the presumption of innocence,
Yes.
the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence,
Yes.
the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence,
Yes.
the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yes.
the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
Yes.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this plea?
Yes.
And that can challenge anything about the constitutionality of the plea. It's not limited to voluntariness, understand?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if this case were to
Hang on just a second. You also have, so 4 years for that, to file a direct appeal. You have 30 days from the date of sentencing, which is going to be today. And you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea. That doesn't mean anything like that would be granted. You would have to establish facts that would warrant that. But that's just the time period is until the end of this term of court. Do you understand those as well?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, if this case were to continue with trial, Your Honor, the state would expect, as to this defendant, the state would expect to show that what has already come into evidence that on July 3rd, 2017, as well as October 23rd, 2018, that this defendant is an associate of the enterprise of YSL, also known as Young Slime Life, and that he conspired to associate together with others for the common purpose of illegally obtaining money and property through a pattern of racketeering activity and conducting and participating in the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. In furtherance of the conspiracy, this defendant engaged in the activities below. He engaged in activities that assisted with preserving, protecting, and enhancing the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise through acts of racketeering activity to include murder, assault, and threats of violence. That this defendant preserved, protect, and enhance the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise by the posting of messages, images, appearances, and videos, and songs demonstrating allegiance to the enterprise and a willingness to engage in violence on its behalf, and to obtain money, weapons, and other property through acts of racketeering activity, including the unlawful sale and distribution of drugs. Your Honor, evidence has come in during this trial that on July 3rd, 2017, Mr. Nichols was located at 2612 Steel Avenue, which is in the Cleveland Avenue sector of the city. Your Honor, he was found inside of a vehicle. When that vehicle was searched, Your Honor, this was in October 2018, they found marijuana as well as sandwich baggies that would be used to package drugs, and there are also guns found inside of that vehicle. Also in July of 2017, this defendant was stopped during a traffic stop in the Cascade area, Your Honor. After being stopped, Your Honor, there was a consensual search of the vehicle that yielded powder MDMA, Xanax, as well as a loaded gun inside of that vehicle. Additionally, Your Honor, in July of 2019, Mr. Nichols was featured in a video with another YSL member, Shannon Stillwell, and Woody Lee. In that video, it was entitled Slap Talk. And in that video, co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell, while performing, makes such quotes as, "Me and my slimes are above the law." We know from the evidence that slimes is one of the terminology used by members of YSL to refer to the.
This clearly shows that you are not above the law. You are like, the law's got their foot on your neck.
Themselves or other members of this enterprise. And then last but certainly not least, Your Honor, that in March of 2022, Your Honor, Mr. Nichols was found in surveillance video at a gas station at Windsor Street and Fulton Street here in Atlanta, Georgia. This was on March 14, 2022, during what the state would believe to show an onset of a gang war that really started in 2015 with the death of Donovan Thomas, that carried on into 2022. In February of 2022, a rival gang member by the name of Rayshawn Bennett, also known as YFN Lucci, was stabbed at the Fulton County Jail in February of 2022. Information about that stabbing was made public at the early part of March 2022, around March 3rd of 2022. Once that information was released to the public, there was an onset of retaliatory activity that occurred between March 3rd, 2022 and March 16th of 2022. That includes a March 11th homicide of YSL associates Christian McMiller and Darius Ford. It also did include a retaliatory shooting of a YFN associate, and then ultimately it led to a murder of Shamel Drinks, who we believe is a YFN associate. This murder occurred again on March 14, 2022. Mr. Nichols is seen on surveillance video at that BP gas station that I just referenced earlier. He was at the gas station with YSL co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell. Mr. Stillwell was driving an Audi vehicle. Mr. Nichols came to that gas station in a Ford Fusion vehicle. You see both of them on camera together. While they are at that gas station, Shamel Drinks approaches that gas station as well. I think unbeknownst to Mr. Drinks, Mr. Stillwell was still in his vehicle, which is the Audi. At some point in time, Mr. Nichols got into his vehicle, the Ford Fusion. Once Mr. Drinks finished his business or finished handling business at that gas station, we know that there is a phone call between occupants of the car that Mr. Stillwell was in and occupants of the car that Mr. Nichols was in. That communication was to the effect that you need to get on FaceTime. As soon as that conversation ensues, we see Mr. Drinks leave the gas station in his vehicle, and both the car that Mr. Stillwell is driving, as well as the car that Mr. Nichols is driving, both follow out of the gas station, following behind Mr. Drinks. Mr. Drinks proceeds down the street to the light at Windsor, which is right by I-20 in Windsor. Mr. Drinks is in the far left lane. The car involving with Mr. Stillwell pulls up to the middle lane, and Mr. Nichols' vehicle pulls up to the far right lane. This is all captured on surveillance video and surveillance camera. They are at the light for a moment. Then we see both this car with Mr. Stillwell as well as the car with Mr. Nichols drive through a red light, leaving the car with Mr. Drinks sitting at that light. About 30 minutes later, a Good Samaritan sees that car still sitting there, approaches the vehicle, and
Essentially, homeboy with his dreads in the air gets to walk away from a murder that it sounds like he was a part of. And if that's the case, well, he's not walking away, but he's getting considerably less time in prison. Yeah, but if that's the case, man, then you better count your blessings and run. But here's the problem with that. Well, let's continue, and I'll talk about that soon. Hold on.
Mr. Drinks is now deceased inside of that vehicle. We had know through LPR readers that both Mr. Stillwell's vehicle and the car involving Mr. Nichols drive in the direction of 20 westbound and then kind of follow in tandem. 2 days later, when after the case is investigated and arrest warrants are taken out, on March 17th, 3 days later, Mr. Nichols is found with Mr. Stillwell at a Chick-fil-A gas station, Chick-fil-A restaurant. There is a chase, I won't call it a high-speed chase, but there is a chase through the city of East Point, and eventually Mr. Nichols as well as Mr. Stillwell are both apprehended after arrest warrants were ultimately taken out for the murder of Mr. Drinks, Your Honor. Given where we are in the case, Your Honor, we know that Mr. Nichols, we do not believe Mr. Nichols was in the vehicle in which the shooting occurred, but he was in this other vehicle. The state has made a decision to move forward with this recommendation for the RICO count, Your Honor, for count one.
Mr. Harvey, are y'all acknowledging a factual basis to the count one, the RICO count?
Okay, we are acknowledging a factual basis. There has already been evidence with regard to the July 3rd, 2017 drug event, the October 23rd, 2018 drug event. We categorically deny and contest any use of violence by Mr. Nichols. We don't agree to that underlying factual basis. We believe those two predicate acts that were committed by Mr. Nichols without any question are sufficient to meet the elements of the offense. the offense to which he's pleaded to, which is a RICO conspiracy. A RICO conspiracy requires proof that the defendant either conspire with another person to violate one of the substantive provisions of RICO, and that would be drug offenses, or personally endeavor, I believe that's what the language of the statute says, to violate one of the substantive provisions.
Well, that's what the language of the statute says, but
Yes.
he is indicted in this indictment with conspiring, not with endeavoring.
That's correct. So we're talking about a conspiracy. We acknowledge the two events that he participated in. We categorically deny any other allegations other than those two events that are sufficient for a factual basis. We categorically deny that we participated in any way in the unfortunate death of Mr. Drinks.
Sorry about that. So, I'm not an attorney, but this is what I get from what he's saying. So, they only have to get two pieces of evidence for the RICO to work, like two facts that this is a gang, and I don't know what the other facts are, right? But I know that that's one of them. But they just need two crimes committed. And that's what I believe this attorney right here is talking about, right? But here's the bigger problem. And this is why Thug does not want to take a deal. Because they've got way more than two pieces of facts against Young Thug, right? So this guy's taking a deal. They've got the two pieces of evidence that will make him plea out. But I think Thug is of the mind state, well, I've got money and I'm going to fight. I kind of feel like that's almost like hitting the lottery if he wins, and like I don't think he can win. Like if they only need two pieces of evidence to like convict you for the RICO, state RICO, I want to tell you, Thug, good luck. But and that's why I think the other attorney is pushing for a mistrial, and then hopefully that they just won't even pick it up anymore. But and I'm not an attorney, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is going to really be an uphill battle for Thug, like if he tries to keep fighting. But let's watch.
We categorically deny any other charges to which we are, substantive charges to which we are not entering a plea, and that includes gang charges. This is a plea solely to a conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. So
Okay.
that
Yeah, he does not want the gang charges on him. I can't explain why, but I wouldn't want them either. But let's check him out.
But yes, we acknowledge a factual basis to that extent, Your Honor.
Understood. All right, thank you.
And she seems to be with it.
I just have one additional thing to say.
Go ahead.
Maybe.
The factual basis regarding the nature of YSL is that the evidence has shown and will continue to show that Mr. Nichols conspired with others to participate in Young Slime Life through a pattern of racketeering activity, and multiple defendants and unindicted co-conspirators have committed overt acts to further this conspiracy, including drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder, also including social media posts asserting the violent nature of and asserted dominance of Young Slime Life, also known as YSL. And that concludes our factual basis.
And again, once again, we again categorically deny those representations. And again, the only thing that is necessary to meet the factual evidence of a 1614-4C is proof that the defendant conspire with another person to violate one of the substantive provisions of RICO, and that is subsumed by the drug offenses that have already been proven in this case, and to which Mr. Nichols has previously pled.
All right, thank you, understood.
And Your Honor, may I approach with the waiver of rights form again?
Yes.
This is why, my friends, especially especially you young guys keeping it real in the streets. This is why when you go to court, you need an attorney. Because I honestly don't know what they're saying. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm not an attorney. But here's your best bet. Listen up. Here's the game. Don't make it to the courtroom. Don't do crimes. Live a clean life. Have a family. And sit your butt down. Stay out the way. Because although this guy's getting a deal, I'm sure he's going to have to do prison time. Let's go.
All right, Mr. Harvey, have you reviewed with Mr. Nichols this plea of guilty and waiver of rights form, which the two of you have both signed?
I have, Judge, in each individual provision in that plea colloquy has been acknowledged and gone over personally with Mr. Nichols.
All right. And Mr. Nichols, have you had sufficient time to consider this guilty plea that has been negotiated between the state and your attorneys, and to discuss anything you wanted to about that with your attorneys?
Yes.
All right. And you understand, I hope, I'm going to ask you, that it is your decision ultimately, obviously with the advice of your attorneys, but it's ultimately up to you individually to decide whether you want to enter this guilty plea or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. And you do want to enter this guilty plea?
Yes.
All right.
My friends, this right here is where the rubber meets the road. Check it out.
And Mr. Harvey, have you advised Mr. Nichols of the alternatives if he does not ultimately go through with this guilty plea, and the potential benefits and drawbacks of all of the other options?
Yes,
All right.
very thoroughly, Judge.
All right. All right, Mr. Harvey, is there anything that the defense wants to add to the record?
Judge, other than the statement with regard to the underlying factual basis, I would point out for the court that when Mr. Nichols filled out his form, it says 29 plus. He is a birthday boy in a couple of days, and he will be 30. And at 30 years of age, he has a wife. He has got a 13-year-old daughter. He's got a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. His wife and sister, I believe, are here in the courtroom to support him. He, Mr. Nichols, was born and raised in Atlanta. And you know, we're at this point before I have even given my opening statement in this case.
Yes, sir.
I do want the court to know that Mr. Nichols' mother died in prison. His father was shot by the Atlanta police when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
And he was raised by friends and family in the Atlanta area. So
That's rough, man. And you know what? My parents were gone by the time I was 8. They were both dead. So I can understand, yeah, he's probably had a very challenging life from early on.
he has come to this point in his life from a very humble beginning, and he has sought the support of friends in this courtroom and others in this courtroom.
Hold up, is he tearing up?
In this courtroom, of friends in this courtroom. He has sought the support of friends in this courtroom and others in this courtroom.
I think the attorney is getting emotional. Wow, I've never seen that before. And maybe because the attorney knows he shouldn't even have made it this far in life. Because everything was set against him to lose. But let's go. All right.
He is an intelligent young man who I believe has a future. Every day we do a word of the day. We put a new word into a sentence.
Okay, now you're losing me, dude. Oh. Oh my God. What's that game that we used to play when we were kids? It was a game at school. Something like that. And you'd have to like fill in the word or where I don't know, but come on, man. This guy is not, he's 30 years old. He's a rapper, so he's used to using words. That's what he does. Oh man, this just took me back to like those movies like where there's the one black kid that's always been doing bad and then the white family comes in and saves him and shows like how messed up his life has been and they're trying to like turn it around and be the hero. But we all know it started from another place, right? Like namely black people being slaves in this country and all the horrible things that we had to go through to overcome. But anyway, I like it. I go ahead, attorney. I like that.
And I think this is in his best interest. I know that there is, and I know this plea is negotiated, but it's a long downside from 7 to 20. So the courts will have jurisdiction over him for a period of time. So I asked the court,
A word of the day. God. Ooh, okay.
given who this young man is, and given
Okay.
our categorical denial of some of the factual basis, to accept the plea and sentence Mr. Nichols accordingly.
Mr. Nichols, is there anything that you want to say?
No, ma'am.
All right. All right.
That he was probably instructed to not say a word from his attorney. So, let's wrap it up, B. Here it is.
I find there to be a factual basis for the guilty plea to the RICO count one of the indictment, that being
Okay.
a conspiracy to
Okay.
acquire control or interest in money and personal property through a pattern of racketeering activity. And that is the only count that guilty plea is being entered for. The remaining counts of this indictment as against Mr. Nichols are being null pros by the state as a part of this indictment. I find, having heard the evidence up to the point of trial right now, that there is evidence of at least one overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Okay.
And that there is evidence that would fall within the required statute of limitations to establish this RICO conspiracy count. One of
Okay.
the things that we as judges are instructed by our Uniform Superior Court rules to do when we are considering whether to accept a guilty plea and whether to accept a negotiated sentence, and this is a negotiated sentence in this case, is to take into account whether giving leniency in sentencing is going to aid in ensuring promptness and certainty, or at least more promptness and more certainty with
Okay.
regard to corrective measures, whether the defendant, and in this case, the defendant has acknowledged guilt and is accepting responsibility for his guilt of the RICO count, and whether accepting the plea will aid in avoiding further delays, not just with regard to this case, but with regard to the entirety of our system here in Fulton County. And this plea does go towards doing all of those things.
Yeah, I think all of the sweetest deals in this trial were given out at the beginning. Like, there's people that got off in the beginning with just probation, right? And all they had to do was come in there and say that, yes, YSL is a gang, right? And I think that's going to be part of Young Thug's problem, because if you got two people that can say that and prove that it is a gang, like Slime Life Shawty has done that. And, well, you know what? Mook Took did not, so they locked him back up. Put him in jail for 5 years. I don't know, but I just think that Thug is... This is going to be problematic for him, because he may be the last man standing with all of the weight on him. And look what this says down here. Young Thug YSL RICO trial. GA, Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams. So this is Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams, which is Young Thug, who they tried to get everybody to flip on. Yeah, this is going to be bad for you, Thug, if they keep this trial going. Let's go.
I am going to accept the plea as negotiated and sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation. As I said before, find there to be a factual basis for count one of the plea. I find the plea to have been freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered into by Mr. Nichols, with an understanding of the consequences of doing that. And the sentence on count one is the sentence that has been negotiated of 20 years to serve 7, with the balance of those years to be served on probation. And that, I don't know if there are any special conditions attached to this that y'all have talked about at all.
So he will have, once the 7 years is up, this full sentence is 20 years. So he will have 13 years on probation. Here's the problem with that. 1 criminal infraction will give him the remaining balance to serve in prison if his probationary officers deem so. Meaning that he's got to walk a fine line, which should not be hard to do, right? You know what, in my life, I don't commit crimes. I don't have a natural propensity to commit crimes. I just don't. So for me, this is a piece of cake. For him, he's had a life of crime. I don't know, we'll see, but let's continue and listen to what the judge is saying.
There are no negotiated special conditions in those, so there are none as far as I'm concerned.
All right. No. Okay. So with regard to the time that you are on probation, you need to stay out of all kinds of criminal trouble. Make this a birthday present to yourself and to your children.
She said, make sure you stay out of all kinds of criminal trouble. Now, is a speeding ticket criminal trouble? I think so. I think getting a ticket is a DUI criminal trouble, which you can avoid both of those if you take Uber, right? Man, that's a long time to be on a tightrope, 13 years, but okay.
And to your wife and family, that you will leave from here today and leave whatever you used to do behind you, and take the next few years. You know, you're going to have some years that are still to be served on this. You'll have credit for the time you've already served, but you're still going to be facing some incarceration time. But after that, you are going to be out, and you, I believe, Mr. Harvey is correct, can be a productive member of society, and this is an opportunity for you to do that, and for you to
Okay.
put your past behind you, the bad parts of it, and continue and make your children proud of you, and set a good example for them, an example that I guess unfortunately you were not lucky enough to have throughout the entirety of your childhood.
Okay, so I kind of like this judge. Like, she's not like a total a-hole. She seems empathetic, but she still is going to be firm on the fact that, yeah, but you're going to jail today.
With your parents. I'm sorry about that, but you can be the kind of parent that you ought to be to your children. So I am going to impose that sentence, and I am going to wish you luck and good fortune as you go forth from here. So I think that unless there's anything else from either party, that will conclude these proceedings, and y'all can go ahead and take him into custody. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Wow.
And Ms. Taylor will make this an exhibit to the plea thing.
What is he smiling for?
Oh, okay. Do the wrong.
Well, there it is. So, another soldier has tapped out. And I think this trial is about to get even more interesting as we approach the day of King Slime. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And peace.